Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast, where we talk about the nuts and bolts of real estate investing. My name is Joe Bauer, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, Julie Clark. Julie, how are you doing today?
I am doing good in the hood, Joe. I got the lovely today. I'm feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you are also a lovely co-host, Joe. I appreciate you.
So sweet.
And I miss you because we're not in the same spot. So where are you at these days? I think you guys all know. Joe's on the road. Everybody, you guys know that. All our Joe fans out there that follow all around Joe and the fantastic life. We do a little quick check-in with my brother Joe here. Not my fraternal brother, but my brother in hustle, Joe Bauer.
Yeah.
That's right. My brother.
Yeah.
And so Joe's on the road for a year with his girlfriend, Emily, hitting all the national parks. We're all living vicariously through Joe. So what you got?
Well, yeah, and we missed each other on when I come into town once a month at the event. So Julie and I are having some lack of hanging out lately, but we got the podcast going on here. I am looking at a bunch of propane tanks in some place called Bemidji, Minnesota. And the interesting thing about Bemidji, and I'm sorry if you're from there, and I'm totally just like killing the name for you, but it's where the original Paul Bunyan statue is.
Wow.
So there's a huge statue of Paul Bunyan right down the street.
I don't know why I feel like there's like a joke on the end of my tongue. I don't know why. What the last 30 seconds of you talking, all I could think about, I know there's a joke here somewhere, but I can't. My mind was going towards the gutter a little bit, so I stopped myself from thinking about it. But I know if anybody's got a good joke about where are we at, Paul Bunyan, Bemidji, South Dakota, where are you at? And throw
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Oh, I have family in Minnesota, but not from there. Not from there. No, Apple Valley. They're from. Shout out to the Curbs and the Derricotts in Apple Valley, Minnesota. If you're listening, right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, so it's a cool little place. Although the weather's not so good today. And another interesting thing is, there's nobody, or it seems like a very slow-paced town, but they have 2-hour parking. So all morning, I've been driving the van around every 2 hours, running out of the coffee shop to change my parking spot. I'm like, come on.
See, that's the difference between you and me. I like to live on the edge. I will not run out to the car after 2 hours. I'm going to let me see what happens. And about 50% of the time, maybe less than 50% of the time, I get a ticket. I don't know why I have this thing that I like to challenge the parking shit like that. I will not, if I'm like, somebody tells me you can only park here for 2 hours, I will park there for 2 hours and 30 minutes. And I will just, I don't know what, it's my rebellious side. That is my rebellious side. And sometimes I get a little spanking, and sometimes I get in the car and I'm like, hee-haw, told ya,
Gotcha.
Sorry, guys. A little insight into the personalities there.
It's awesome. I love it. Well, today, Julie, we're talking about how to comp properties, and we've had a lot of people ask us about this. We've done a video on it for our SIC members, but it seemed like it was a good time to refresh the how to comp property subject. So what do you got for us?
It is a perfect time to, it's actually always a good time about how to comp properties and this is, sometimes better to do in person so you can follow the screen share. But what I'm going to give you guys a heads up today is, I use Redfin I don't use Zillow to comp my properties. I use Redfin to comp properties, even though I'm a real estate broker, an investor and a broker, agent investor, whatever you want to call us. always start with Redfin just because I like, if you're somewhere that has Redfin, I guess not everywhere has Redfin, but I like the mapping function. The map is very user-friendly for me, and you'll learn why. So if any of you guys want to take a minute and go pull up your computer and grab your laptop or jump onto Redfin while we're talking about this, you can sort of maybe follow along with what I'm talking about. But I'm going to do my best to explain it. It is right now September 13th of 2018, and we are in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, and I think the story that we have here at this time is a similar story in submarkets across the U.S. I know some, major submarkets in metropolitan areas for sure. And whether that means that we're having a market adjustment. And that means we've lost the reliability and predictability of our market, and comping properties is absolutely crucial. Comping them the correct way, the accurate way. Nobody has a crystal ball. This isn't an exact science, but I got to give myself a pat on the back. I got to say I'm a numbers geek, and my method has, knock on wood, because I have a listing coming on tomorrow. I don't want to screw it up, but it's always worked for me. I might be slightly more conservative than others, but especially in the market that we're in now with a slight little adjustment happening, it's good to be conservative. And if you don't know, if you can't get the right or very close to the right ARV for your property, that dictates what you can pay for a property. So that means you're going to overpay for it. Then you're going to list it too high, a double whammy. And most of you are probably going to overspend on your construction budget. There's the triple whammy. What is that called? The trifecta? The non-perfecta. How about that? I like to make up words. I like it. We got to make up words as we go. If you guys want to make up buzzwords and silly buzzwords, we'd love to see those down in our review so we can all have a laugh and goof around together. But needless to say, we all know how important it is in any market to comp a property, but especially this is relevant right now as we are going through this adjustment in a lot of submarkets across the country. Little side note is we're actually getting contacted, and some listeners giving us some virtual high fives from around the country. That is happening for Joe and I here on the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing. So we'll just remind you guys, first of all, how much we love and appreciate you all listening to our podcast, and how fun it is to know that we're starting to reach on a regular basis outside of our market, even outside the Pacific Northwest. So shout out to all you non-Pacific Northwesters out there listening. And what would be super awesome is that we always love reviews, especially 5-star reviews on our podcast. But if you give us a shout and tell us where you're from, if you decide to give us a review, that would be super cool. So we can start spreading the word, because what we're talking about applies everywhere. Some of the numbers, if we talk about, you just adjust them for the market that you're at. But the concepts are the same. So have at it, enjoy, and here we go. All right. So the very first thing, I'm just going to take myself through the process and talk while I do it. When somebody gives me an address, or we have or to help them, or we have a lead that we're going to be checking out, the very first thing that I do is I take the address and I pop it into Google Street View. I just take a quick look at the house from Google Street View. I'm looking just to see if, sometimes those aren't updated, so I don't rely on it 100%, but I find most of the time it gives me an idea of what's up. It also gives me an idea of what's up, not only just with the subject property house, but then I can see if it's on a corner. I can zoom in and see if there's a backyard. I can see if the roof looks weird. I can see if the neighbors are junky or great. Just gives me kind of just a quick glance. I don't, write any notes about it. I just glance on it and look around for a minute just to start me off. The next thing I do is I I go into Redfin and I plop in the zip code, or I find the area on the map. And what I have showing on the Redfin screen is not the list of all the addresses and the prices. I have the map. It looks like a Google, map. And I zoom in and I find the address in Redfin. I just zoom in on the map till I find the street. I find the house. I can actually click on the house to confirm, yes, that is the house I'm looking for. It'll allow me to do that. And what I'm doing there, the goal of what I'm doing there is I want to find the natural borders, east, west, north, south of this subject property. And the tip here is that when you're comping properties, it's fine to go out, half a mile, or better stay in closer, quarter of a mile, half a mile out would be kind of comping 101. But there's a caveat to that because of where the natural borders of that subject property are. And the definition I'm using for natural borders is like main thoroughfares or green belts or anything that would be kind of a natural break from a neighborhood pocket to crossing lines otherwise. That could be, usually it sticks out like a sore thumb on the map, on the mapping function, either on, Google Maps. But like I said, I'm inside of Redfin mapping this while I'm doing this. And I can see, like, if there's a main thoroughfare, east or north-south thoroughfare or east-west, whatever it is, I can see that because the lines are thicker. I can see that there's maybe a school or a natural green belt or something like that borders the property just by visually looking at it. It's common sense. I'm not going to dive into it. You guys know what I'm talking about, okay? And my number one rule that I follow that works for me, that I recommend for all of you guys, is do not cross the natural borders of the subject property ever. If you can't find a comp within the natural borders, of that neighborhood, then go back further in time. Go back 6 months, go back 1 year, and then adjust for appreciation. Don't cross over main thoroughfares, because that could be a completely different neighborhood, a different school district, the considered maybe the lower end of the area. You don't know, and we don't always know every neighborhood perfectly on deals that we get. So stay within the, natural borders. And here's another tip is you might have your house be 1 block away from a main thoroughfare, or 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away, or whatever, right? And if you were to go half a mile or a quarter of a mile, let's say west from your subject property, you would be crossing over that border. So when I'm talking about going half a mile, let's say, I like to try and go quarter of a mile if I can. I would not cross over that border. I would just, if it borders to the west and I'm close to that border, I'd push my half a mile to the east, right? And stay within whatever that natural border is to the east. So it doesn't look like a circular diameter. I'm talking like math terms now, so I'm certain I'm going to screw something up here, how I'm explaining this. But, it might look like you're pushing all to the right or all to the north or all to the south in your distance that you're searching within that, half mile or less, quarter of a mile. You guys get what I'm saying? Don't cross over main thoroughfares. Don't cross over the other side of green belts. For reasons of neighborhood reasons, neighborhood quality reasons, school districts, big one. And it's always important, if you see, it's always good to know where the school district breaks, where the school district changes, if you're close to another neighborhood that might have a different school, because people choose to live in neighborhoods and will pay a lot more to live in neighborhoods that have high school ratings, good ratings versus others. You guys get what I'm saying? So that's my number one rule. Don't cross over those borders. If you can't find comps, go back further in time and then adjust for appreciation over that time. And you can use maybe Zillow. If you don't know what the appreciation is, you might check Zillow actually has that information available. And Redfin probably does too. I don't look at it that much because I pretty much know, I've been around long enough to know what the appreciation is. So that's my borders talk. Start with the map, find your property, zoom in, find your natural borders. Now you're ready to start looking at homes in the neighborhood. I'm still on Redfin now. You're ready to start looking at homes in the neighborhood. But my one thing that bugs me about Redfin that I don't like, that I'm trying to like send them notes about, is you can't sort by style of construction. Like if I want to search for ramblers or I want to search for split entries, that's the only pain in the ass that I find there. And I typically go back and search the MLS if I want to search by style of construction, because style of construction, meaning, is it a rambler, a ranch style, one-story home? Those are all different words for the same thing. Is it a split entry? That means where you walk in and you're like at a little landing and the stairs go up and some stairs go down. You're not really stepping into a room. You're stepping into like a front entryway and the stairs go up and stairs go down. Or a one-story with a basement. That means where you step into the house and then somewhere on that main floor, there's stairs that go downstairs that create and you're going then into a basement, or 2-story homes or 1.5-story homes. You get what I'm saying, style of construction. Because when you're comping properties, the goal is you're essentially acting like you're an appraiser. You're a wannabe appraiser. So if any of you out there listening are appraisers, I would love for you to email me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com or julie@homelinksseattle.com, which is my broker email. And let me know if you have any comments or corrections or major pieces of advice for us. We'll give you a big shout out on our next podcast and on all our social media if you do that. If you want to give me any tips or tell me that I'm a total idiot or what. But this has always worked for me, and I'm sharing today what works for me with you guys, because you know what? I'm just one of you guys. So I'm going to keep cruising here. So style of home is the second thing I look at, because I don't need to comp a property. If I have a 1-story with a basement house, I don't need to comp a property against a rambler, or I don't need to use a 2-story home. I need to use the same style of construction, because that's what an appraiser is going to use when the buyer of my flip or my deal goes to get their loan. So I'm trying to be in line with that, so I know my buyers are going to be able to qualify for loans that match up with the price that I'm going on the deal that I'm selling, if that makes sense. So that's what I look for next, is style of home. I've already talked to you about why. Let's talk about if I can't find within my natural borders of my neighborhood. Let's just assume I've found one within 6 months. I didn't have to go back far. If I have a 1-story with a basement and I can't find any recent comps or 3 to 6 month old comps for a 1-story with a basement, what am I going to do? Am I going to cross over the natural border and go to the neighborhood who has one right across the border, really close? It's only a quarter of a mile away. So that'd be within our half-mile distance that we want to stick to, but it's on the other side of a natural border. Am I going to go over there? No, I'm not. Is that where a lot of people make mistakes? Heck yes, it is. A lot of mistakes made by doing that. People do it. Oh, it's half-mile. Well, don't cross natural borders. If I can't find one, my phone's ringing off the hook here, guys. I'm popular today. If I can't find the similar style of construction for like a 1-story with a basement, I will look at a split entry. If I have a split entry in that same neighborhood, because the key is I just need to have something that has a basement. And why that's significant is that basement space is worth less than main floor space or above ground space. So if I don't want to compare a 2-story home to a 1-story with a basement, because in a 2-story home, all the space is above ground, more valuable, versus 1-story with a basement where a percentage of the space is below grade. Or it could be a daylight basement, but it's still, in the appraiser's eyes, whether you can get out the basement slider or not, it's still a basement. Okay. Don't get confused that just because you can walk out the back door of the basement, that means it's 2 stories and above ground. A basement is a basement. So don't overthink it. In my book, in my experience, I want to say for the record, because last time I talked about how to comp properties, some appraiser that's, I guess came after me and was like, you don't have a license to talk about this or give advice. So I'm going to put a big old disclaimer out there right now, you guys. I am not an appraiser. I am not licensed as an appraiser. I've never been an appraiser. So you are listening to me as a friend, sharing stories. Do your own homework, do your own diligence. Use what I'm saying, either listen to it or not, but it's on you to do your own homework, okay? I'm just telling you what I do. I'm not telling you what to do. So hopefully that satisfies anybody out there that wants to come beat me up after this. But if you do want to do that, like I said, you could be helpful, maybe and not aggressive, and we will give you a shout out, like I said, and share those tips with everybody. So I'm going to keep trucking here. Let's see what else we have here. 2-story homes, I always just compare with 2-story homes, 1.5-story homes. Sometimes I might use a 1.5-story with a basement, and I'll just remove the basement space off of the valuation that I'm doing, and I'll tell you how I do that. But you get it in a nutshell. Use the same style of construction, and if you have a home with a basement, either use another 1-story with a basement or use a split entry, which also has a basement. The next thing that I do is every time I get a list of comps, what I think are comps for the properties, the first thing I do is I research how many square feet is on the main floor, how many square feet is in the basement. And I line it all out on an Excel spreadsheet, and I say, here's the subject property, here's the main floor space, square footage, here's the basement space, square footage. And if it has a half story up or, a second story because it's 2-story, I would, label that upstairs space. Again, I'm not using 2-story homes when I'm looking at 1-story with a basement homes, but you guys get what I'm saying. I always break it down per floor when I look at the comps. And that is another golden key, take some notes thing for you guys. Think about it. If you have 2 homes and they are both 2,000 square foot homes, and let's say they're both 1-story with a basement homes, because we're following the rules of sticking to the same style of construction, or if it's a 1-story with a basement versus if you're forced to use a split entry. Me personally, I don't like split entries as much as I like 1-story with a basement. I think, you guys can make up your own mind there or ask an appraiser. Maybe that's a technical appraiser question. But if you have 2 homes that are 2,000 square feet side by side, finished the same school district, same street, same neighborhood, all's good. Everything's the same. And one of those has 1,300 square feet on the main floor and 700 square feet in the basement. And then the one next door has 1,000 square feet on the main floor and 1,000 square feet in the basement. Which one's worth more? Anybody know? Hey, buddy. Hey, God dang it. Buddy's sleeping again. Buddy, am I boring you?
Damn it, buddy.
Dang it, buddy. That's what I get for giving him a little beef jerky treat before the podcast. He gets all snoozy on me. Buddy is our sidekick, my Labradoodle buddy. But he's snoozing on me right now, so he's not answering. So I'll answer for you guys. The answer is that the home that has the 1,300 square feet on the main floor, the larger space, square footage above ground, is going to be worth more. Why? Because main floor space, above ground space is worth more than basement space. Now, when I say it like that, it makes perfect sense, right? You go, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay. So already that's a reason why on all your comps, guys and gals and dogs and birds and whoever's listening, that you need to break down the square footage. In my opinion, as a non-licensed appraiser, you need to break down the square footage between main floor space and basement space, or main floor space and second story upstairs space, whatever type of house you have. Okay. That is golden, in addition to not crossing the natural borders. Okay. So now what do we do? How do we calculate? Well, that sounds good, Julie. That makes a lot of sense. But how do we figure out how much more it's worth? The one that has 1,300 square feet versus the one that has only 1,000 square feet on the main floor of our 2,000 square foot house that we're talking about. So this is what I do in the Seattle, Washington area. If you're off in Ohio, the same concept, I believe, should apply. But your number that you use on this next part, which I'll call the premium calculation that I do, this is not the way appraisers do it, this is the way I do it, is I take, there's 1,300 square feet on house number 1 on the main floor, and there's 1,000 square feet on house number 2 on the main floor. So a $300 square foot difference on the main floor. That $300 difference, I take times $125 a square foot. So 300 times 125 is what? I can't think and do math at the same time. Does anybody give it a shout? Anybody know what it is? 300 times 125. Anybody shout it out? It's $37,500, Julie. Oh, that came from Buddy. Thanks, Buddy. So sorry, guys, I'm goofing around here. The calculation of 300 times $125 a square foot, that's 300 square feet difference times $125 a square foot value is $37,500. So if that's what I put as the premium on the house that has the larger square feet on the main floor. But hey, wait a minute. That other house has 1,000 square feet on the basement, and the other one has only 700 square feet in the basement. Another 300 square foot of difference, but the other way and in the basement. Now what I do is I take that 300, and because we're in the basement, and this is if it's finished space in the basement, I take 300 times $50 a square foot, and that's $15,000, okay? So that's the premium of the house that we know is going to be worth more, everything else being equal, is the one that has the larger main floor space. So that's a value of premium in Julie Clark terms of $37,500. But since my basement is smaller by 300 square feet times $50 a square foot, that's $15,000 that I will subtract off for a net of $22,000 of premium. You guys follow me that? I have a larger main floor space, but I have a smaller finished basement space. What does finished means? Finished means it's, carpeted with heat, and there's room down there. That's what it means. Heat has to be heated. Okay. So I have a net $22,000 in the positive for my premium of house number 1 over house number 2, assuming all things else are equal. Does that make sense to you guys? And that's how I figure it out. And knock on wood, that has done very, very well by me for 99% of the deals I've ever done. Okay. I pride myself on that. And now you're going to go out and try it, and probably it won't work, but that's what I do. And I have a hard to comp property that I'm putting on the market today in Ballard. It's a bit harder to comp. So I'm using my methods today. Drove 8 properties this morning to double check anything freshly on the market. And I'm doing my exact calculations that I'm telling you right now. I'm doing as soon as we get off this podcast for this listing I have coming on tomorrow, and we'll find out if I got it right. How about that? I've been right before, but we'll test it one more time here. And I'm not saying that I'm the answer. Again, you guys do whatever you do. Take from this podcast whatever you take from it. Hopefully there's some nuggets here for you. Appraisers, feel welcome to give me a shout out on my email. But hopefully I'm helping you guys out a little bit. If you're in Ohio, maybe the $125 or the $50 a square foot for the basement might be a little bit different number, because you sell your houses for $125 a square foot. Here in the Seattle area, we sell houses for $400, $500 a square foot. You see what I'm saying? So, there's a point right there. Okay. So let's say you have a house and all the comps, and you're like, oh, well, that house, the comp that I found sold for $450 a square foot, or $400 a square foot. So since my main floor space is 300 square feet larger, because I listened to what Julie said about splitting the square footage between upstairs, downstairs, and so forth, I'm going to take $450 or whatever times that 300 square foot difference. That is a major no-no. It does not work that way, guys. It is not a dollar for dollar exchange like that. Don't do that, okay? It doesn't work. So that's why like I said, if it's trading, and don't use some percentage of what I'm talking about either, because there is no correct way to do that. This isn't like a hard fact. But again, I'm using $125 a square foot for main floor space, $50 a square foot for the premium on basement space. And, our homes out here are selling anywhere from, $350 to $600 a square foot, right? Meaning a lot more. Okay. I'm just making those numbers up, but you get it. It's a lot more. And there's no percentage. It's not like $125 a square foot over 500 and that's whatever percent, and you can apply. Don't do it like that. Okay. Just pick the number you want to use and use it and see if it works, or get somebody's opinion other than mine. So that's what I do. That separates the men from the boys and the girls from the women. However you say that. I've never said it that way. I always say the men from the boys, even when I'm talking about girls. So sorry, ladies. Separates the girls from the women. That is a big tip. What about unfinished basement space? Let's say it's basement's partially finished. What do you do? Well, you can see right on the listing how much basement space is finished versus how much is unfinished. The listings should detail out the difference. So it'll say, there is 500 square feet finished in the basement and 450 square feet unfinished. So then I would take that $50 difference against that 500, and I'd apply $20 a square foot for unfinished space. That's just what I do. Okay. That's how that works. What else can I tell you? The next thing that I will tell you is when you're looking for comps, this is exceptionally crucial right now on September 13th, 2018. Okay. And exceptionally crucial later in the year and next year. Let's say you have to go back a year, right? Looking at comps. It is very important right now. And I'm saying you're going back a year because we're not going to cross over the natural borders. We'd rather go back and add some appreciation, which we can research and figure out what is reported as the appreciation, during that time. We can make a conservative calculation on that. Okay. Don't be scared. But one thing that I want to tell you guys is super duper duper important right now. I know specifically, I'm talking about the Pacific Northwest, and this concept can apply everywhere in any submarket. If your submarket is also experiencing a cap, we hit the ceiling and we're having a little adjustment. We're not having a nosedive. We're not having a problem. We're here in our market, at least, we're having an adjustment. And the scariest and the crappiest part about that is not that we're having an adjustment. It's great for buyers. And I'll tell you what, our phone is ringing off the hook with sellers because they're all nervous. They think they missed the peak. And guess what? They did. They missed it. They should have sold a year or two ago. So people are checking in and deciding to sell maybe right now because they're nervous about change, even though it's not necessarily a big change. But here in the Seattle market, in the hottest neighborhoods, I could see that there's maybe going to be let's say like a 2 to 6% adjustment. That's just my opinion. And further out north or further out south, like Edmonds and getting up north and those places that everybody who couldn't afford to be closer in, it was getting pushed to. I think those neighborhoods are going to take a bit of a higher adjustment. Who knows? Now I'm just speculating, but maybe I would be more conservative. I'd be even maybe getting closer to a 10% adjustment, maybe if I'm being conservative, as I'm pushing farther north and further into south, maybe King County. Now Tacoma, Pierce County is super hot. So I think there's some, doesn't necessarily apply everywhere. If you're buying in Pierce County, I'm sure you're experiencing, at least that's in Washington, that's the Tacoma area. You're seeing how hot it is down there. And I just repped a buyer down there, beat out 3 others, but I would say check in on Tacoma for price adjustment. So I'm talking in general right now, but easy 5% adjustment. The point is this. If you're like in some of the hottest neighborhoods in the Seattle area or wherever you're at, and the house next door or on the same block, same style of construction, a great comp for you sold anytime the first half of this year, the market is completely different and has changed since that deal closed. Okay. So anything that closed up through even I'd say mid-June or the first week of June, we are in a different market. You've heard us say that. You're going to hear it. Actually, we record these podcasts and release them about, 4 or 5 weeks or something after we've recorded them. So you've heard some other podcasts before this one that I probably said the same thing. You can't take a house that sold $750,000 in the Ballard neighborhood, even though that seems cheap in Ballard, you get my point, and say, well, that sold in April or May of 2018, and I'm going on the market here now in September. That's a perfect comp for me, so I'm at 750. No, you're not. You're not. You're going to get a bump down. You should plan that you could very easily get a bump down, guys, by let's say 5% in the hottest neighborhoods or something like that. That's my opinion. Talk amongst each other and figure it out. But that's what I'm saying. Up in Shoreline, if I was in North Shoreline or getting up into Edmonds or in those places, I'd even be more conservative than that. If my neighbor sold for, $750 up in Shoreline up there, I would even do research your comps, but I might even think about taking 10% off, okay, of that for my ARV. Okay, we've hit the peak. It's an adjustment time. It's not a downfall. So the main point of what I'm saying is when you're looking at your comps, everybody looks at what date it closed. Here's the nugget that I'm taking a long time to tell you, so I apologize. The nugget is you don't need to focus as much. Yes, look and see when it closed because that's how you're doing your research. But once you pick your comps, you need to look and see through the transaction sales history, which you can see right on Redfin. If you scroll down on the page, it'll tell you when it went pending. Well, something could have closed in June and went pending at the end of April. Okay. That is such a different, that's even a higher crazy price point time than it was at the end of May or, things that listed, January, February, March, April, in our area here, we were still a bit in the crazy balls times, guys. So don't just pay attention to when it closed, really, because that's just when it closed. That just helps you research. You need to be paying attention to when it went pending inspection, and then pending. Whatever happened first, right? A lot of things just go straight to pending, or at least they used to. Now you're going to see more inspections because nobody's using an offer review date, or nobody should be using an offer review date. And the reason why you don't want to use an offer review date, getting a little sidetracked here, is because that communicates to the buyers. They are trained to think that that means they have to pay $50,000 over the list price or more. So then they'll sit on the sidelines because they're unwilling to do that now. The reason why we're having this market change is not because of interest rates, it's because of buyer sentiment. That's my opinion. Once again, I have the microphone, so I get to give my opinion. And you guys can decide whether you want to listen to it or not. Buddy enjoys it. So that's all I need. Just the love of my dog. So go, and as you're comping going forward here, especially the rest of this year, and as you're, going into next year, pay attention. When did it go pending? And that's the date you care about to know how much you should adjust, right? If it sold in up through even May, I would be adjusting more than I would as if it sold later this year. If you're getting comps that sold in like September, October, the further we get in the year, these adjustments will start to get recorded. So next year, we'll be able to use the last quarter of this year as a little bit more reliable source than we can right now using the first quarter of 2018 to comp right now. If you guys are getting what I'm saying. We're in the high times of adjustment. We're in the high times of unpredictability right now. So be cautious. That's my tip. Is to check when the offer was accepted, not just when it sold. Again, just some follow-up notes here on little straggling things here. Remember to check Google Street View if you're not, we make offers sight unseen on our deals. I don't know. We've done handful of deals where we never even saw the property. Plus, we invest out of state, although we have boots on the ground out there. Google Street View is my friend. I can see if the neighbors look yucky. It could be wrong, but at least it gives me an indication. So don't forget to do that. And again, what if there's no comps in the neighborhood in the last 3 months or 6 months, even though, again, I just told you not to rely on those as, a comp. You need to adjust downwards off anything that sold in the last 3 to 6 months, in my opinion, as of September 13th, 2018, for a while, until we've leveled out on this adjustment. And then we can go back to relying on comps that sold a month ago, right? But not right now. Not right now. You got to adjust those down. Again, I told you that I go back a year if needed. Let me just tell you what, if you are an investor and you can't find a comp that is, that is you have to go back a year to find a comp, you better be super conservative. That means there's not a lot of comps. And aside from talking about how to ARV and comp today, I'll tell you guys this. If you don't have comps for your property, don't buy it. This is not a time to start buying properties with variables, as I call it. Okay, what are variables? Investors, especially new investors, do not buy properties that have a variable on it. A variable is that it is on a busy street or even a semi-busy street. If there's lots of inventory and people can pick from lots of houses, which inventory is increasing, you're going to be moving yourself to the back of the bus, so to speak. If you start buying properties with variables, if there's many to choose from. In the heyday that we just came out of, maybe you could get away with it, but I would steer clear of that now, okay, as inventory starts to come on more and more. Variables, no busy streets, no weird floor plans unless you're gutting it and redoing the floor plan. No, unless you are out in South Carolina or somewhere like that where all the comps have big, huge lots. If you're in the city and it's not subdividable and you think, oh my God, this house is so awesome. I'm out in Edmonds and I got this huge double 15,000 square foot backyard. And the comps only have like 8,000 square foot backyards and I'm not going to be able to subdivide or anything. Oh, that's a major premium. Guess what, guys? It's not. People overvalue big yards all the time. That a big yard means that somebody's got to take care of it. And some people like that and some people don't. And I find that investors always place too much premium on having a big lot. That's an emotional decision for the buyer, whether they like it or not. So I call it a variable, right? Something that's on like a weird big, has a ravine in the back or a steep slope, or those are variables, right? Maybe it's a great house, but there's no backyard, and the comps have a backyard, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna, call that a $10,000 difference. You can, but I'm saying I'm conservative. I stay away from variables. Totally crappy neighbor that you can't control, I'd call that a variable too, right? Just, nothing weird. Now's the time to, mainly for newbies, and I would say some experienced investors as well. Sometimes people get so experienced, they think they can take on anything, right? Well, you can, a lot of contractors also think that. They're like, oh, I can fix anything. Really? Well, that's great. But somebody still, not you, somebody else that you have no control of has to buy it. So I don't care whether you can fix it. If it's weird or there's no comps, think twice about buying it. And if you're a newbie and you're like, oh my God, I got a great deal from a wholesaler that I've been, haven't been able to get a deal from before, remember, there could be a reason for that. That means that maybe other people have passed, or something like that. The best way to work your way up the chain with a wholesaler that you want to get in good with, okay, and you're new, is to be extremely responsive, quick response with a yes or no to them. Be at their beck and call. If they show you something, you give them your yes or your no right away, because wholesalers like quick responses. That is a good way to get their attention. Call them, say, hey, what's up? Just letting you know I'm here. When you get one, please let me see it. I promise you I'll respond super fast. And they like that. That's a good way to work your way up the chain. Not buy one of their deals that, you think all of a sudden they're your buddy because they're selling you a deal. Come to find out that, oh, there aren't a lot of comps. Well, now you know why smart investors don't buy it, right? Just, sloped properties, weird entrances with a bunch of stairs, or, really crappy landscaping, where it's just a bunch of bark. I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking. Stay on the straight and narrow these days is my advice until we, settle down a little bit. But that's it. I don't know. That's all I got, really. I could probably think of some more stuff, but I feel like I'm like slobbering all over myself here because I've been talking so much. So that's it. If you guys have any questions, I am always happy to help you. I get contacted on a regular basis from investors that need help. Either they're, what I'll do is I will give priority right now. Just because I get a lot of people contacting me, I will tell you that I'm giving priority because sometimes it might take me a minute to respond because I and run our business too, super busy, and two beautiful girls to get to school and all these things. If you are having a property that's been sitting on the market and you are freaking out or concerned that it's not selling, I'm happy to look at it for you. I get a lot of those calls, even though they have a broker on there. Some investors, they want to list it themselves. If you're one of those people, that's fine. Totally. You could do that. Absolutely. Especially if you're in a situation where you're going to have to take a big haircut and you listed it yourself. At least you have those savings there. You all know I'm a huge fan of having a license as an investor. It's like an insurance policy to have the availability to save yourself a little bit. But if that's you, or even if some other broker you're working with can't give you a good answer, or you want somebody else's answer, feel free to shoot it over to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com or julie@homelinksseattle.com. That's my broker email. And I will do my best to give you my opinion, which could mean something and it could mean nothing. But at least it's another opinion. and I will give priority to those people that are in a painful spot before people that say, should I buy this deal? What do you think, I should offer? So if you send me something like that and it takes me a minute to respond, it's because I'm helping the people that are in true need first, if that makes sense. Other than that, hit me up. I'm here for you. And don't be shy to nudge me more than once if you really need my attention. I apologize in advance because I am busy, but I will do my best to help as many of you as you can. That's part of the reason why we do this podcast, is so we can help you in a group versus one-on-one, because we used to get a lot of these one-on-one things, and it's just it's time consuming. But we love you guys and we want to help you guys, and we love learning from you. So if anybody out there wants to share their story and jump on the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast, we want to hear from you. And we also want to know what other topics that you guys want to cover. I try to, pick topics that I think are timely for the needs of the community based on where we're at and whatever market or what the hot topics are that I know people are talking about. So hopefully we're doing okay there for you guys. But if you need some more basic info or whatever you want, Joe, what should they do? info@seattleinvestorsclub.com, or where do you want them to send that information to?
Yeah, they can just contact info@seattleinvestorsclub.com or me, Joe, at seattleinvestorsclub.com. And I'll talk with you and we'll get that scheduled up.
Maybe put in the subject line podcast topic idea. So then that alerts Joe to know what that's about. But we would love to hear from you guys. Anybody that you'd like us to get on the podcast, I think we're actually legit enough now that they would say yes. Mm-hmm. We're having some awesome traction there. We're actually having people contacting us wanting to be on it. So that's super exciting for Joe and I, or Joe Buddy and I. Right,
yeah, Buddy.
Oh, little tail wag over there when I said that. But that's it. I hope this helped you guys out. I know I was wordy today, and if you're still listening, I appreciate it. But Joe, how can they find the show notes? And wait, we have some other things we can link to this. Did we do one on how to comp when there's no comps, or?
We did. We have a podcast on how to comp when there's no comps. Let me see if I can.
And there might be some overlap on this. I don't know, but you can link that one maybe. And if you're a member of Seattle Investors Club right now, there's actually a video where I'm actually screen sharing on while I'm doing this talk. And you can follow along with me on there if you're a member of Seattle Investors Club. If you want to be a member of Seattle Investors Club, you don't even have to be in Seattle. We record all our meetings, which are even more detailed than these podcasts and just as exciting, sometimes even more exciting. Those are all recorded. And you can check us out at seattleinvestorsclub.com and click join if you want to. But that's all I got.
Heck yeah. And if you guys do want to jump right over to listening to the other comp podcast we did, it's at seattleinvestorsclub.com/15. So
that's the other one. Right. And if you guys are need any other basic information, we've got a great one on wholesaling. What do we call it? Wholesaling 101. Was that even like our first podcast?
How to get started wholesaling at seattleinvestorsclub.com/1.
/1, right? Or if they go onto our website, or sicpodcast.com is another way to get there. Can they see the whole list of all our podcasts?
Yeah, you nailed it. sicpodcast.com. It will just shoot you to the page on Seattle Investors Club that has all of the podcasts. So you can go through all those. If you're an iTunes person, you can go to seattleinvestorsclub.com/iTunes, give us a review and subscribe to the podcast and get all of them in that app, or Stitcher or Google Play, whatever you prefer. We're everywhere.
Right, because you email out, like today we are recording this podcast, but we've also dropped one of our previous podcasts, and all people who are on our mail list are getting that right to their inbox. Is that right?
Totally. We email them out on Friday, usually Friday morning, as long as there's no technical difficulties. Or if there's other emails going out, I might push it out a couple of days. But it's usually Friday. You'll get an email of the latest podcast that has dropped.
How do they get on that mail list?
You can get on that mail list by either sending me an email, joe@seattleinvestorsclub.com, or just going to our site. And if you opt into any of the forms on there, we'll throw you on that list.
Sweetness. Awesome. Good stuff. And is our Facebook page publicly open now where they could go and watch all the videos that we've done and all that? Is that open, or I don't know how that works?
So they can go to facebook.com/Seattle Investors Club. And if they do click on the video tab that's on the left-hand side there is a ton of those videos that have been done. A ton.
There's some serious nuggets, some tips of the day, everything from how to talk to sellers, just short clips, guys, like 2 to 4 minutes probably. I think Joe always tells me to go 2 minutes, but you guys know I like to talk. Especially if I've had a snack and some coffee. So super, super good videos on there. First 10 questions to ask multifamily, like landlords, to help you if you want to chase down some of those apartment leads. There's just everything, pretty much everything. So again, we'd love to hear from you on any new topics you want to hear from. And other than that, we'll keep cranking them out. And Joe, I want you to make sure you wear your seatbelt today.
Always.
As you're cruising. Where are you going? You're driving somewhere.
Yeah, we're headed up to Voyageurs National Park, which is like northeastern Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, I believe it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jealous.
I've never been, so I'll be posting pictures if anybody wants to see them.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome sauce. Okay, well, over and out. I'm going to go get our listing. We have a new listing coming on. I'm going to get that cranked out here and go hit the streets of the town here. Go make some money.
Money, money, money.
Show me the money.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Cool. We'll see you guys later.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.